Welcome to D-Tycoon Community Unity Now. I'm very happy to present our second live show of the season. And I'm Bill Morton. I'm president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. And this show is brought to us by Dr. Reverend Catherine Brown D-Tycoon. Community Unity Now. So, D-Tycoon show. So, I'm very pleased to have a special guest with us today, Jedidiah Brown. How's it going, Jedidiah?
It's going great. Thanks. Congratulations on the second show, and I'm glad to be here, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me just turn up the volume a little bit. So, you've been, what got you active in social justice when you lived in Chicago?
What got me active in advocacy and social justice in Chicago literally was witnessing the death of a 14-year-old and how it seemed the community around did not know how to respond or react to it. I think that was around 2005, and it literally I never stopped marching since.
Could you tell us a little bit about what happened with that incident?
I had moved into the South Shore neighborhood. I believe it was around 69th and Paxton at the time, and a 14-year-old child was shot. It was a fatal shooting. First time I'd seen that up close, and I remember the police tape going up and walking over there and seeing, it was in front of a Family Dollar that was on 71st Street. And just to kind of fast forward it, when the tape went up and the body was removed, literally within 5 minutes, the community went right back to normal as if it had never happened. People were shopping, and it just disturbed me. And so I tried to give voice to the fact that I'd heard the mom cry out. I seen the pain and the agony of the family, and to see a child laying in the ground and almost be forgotten by the community that was just impacted. It didn't sit right. And so I kind of brought awareness to that. And then I went to the alderman's office trying to get help, met a dead end, and just kind of had to fight for things because consistently shootings were happening where I lived in South Shore at the time. Well,
the shootings are still going on. It seems like nobody's found a real solution to this issue in our city. You're in Atlanta now. So what are you doing in Atlanta that led you to start the March Against Violence in Chicago?
Well, Bill, first of all, it's so weird to hear anybody say still that I'm not in Chicago. I've been there my entire life. But I have relocated primarily to Atlanta. I do have residents still in Chicago. But I had to leave, Bill. I had to leave because the crime was becoming too much. Advocacy was becoming very toxic. It was a very bad and rough environment. I had to leave to focus on my mental health, find out my identity, kind of sort of see what the world was like. And it's been an amazing journey. But however, being here for the past year primarily, recently, Chicago was in the national headlines for the amount of violence that had gone on over a weekend. And I think it was like 2-3 weekends ago. And it just really woke me up to remember that there's still so much going on at home with my family and my friends and my supporters, that people have supported me throughout the years still is. And so I felt that now it's time for me to come on and reach back as a different person and try to still help our city. Chicago will always be home, but always be home.
It's going to take a lot to combat the violence. It's going to take it's a Herculean task. What organizations are you working with for this project?
So it is actually very organic. I'm very excited to say it is growing by the day. But my organization, which is leading the charge, is the Justice Family. We have actually, to my surprise, we have a lot of entrepreneurs like Color Me Crazy, Designs by Restore. There are some people who, make food. Business owners are actually trying to step in to help organize this thing because it's a walk that's taking place from Atlanta all the way to Chicago. We have the Party Plate. A lot of for-profit businesses are actually trying to pitch in to help us organize this walk. And it's actually a phenomenal site because that's what it takes.
So you mentioned that you want people to take responsibility for their lives as well. How can Black and Brown people balance responsibility with the equity gap?
I think that the equity gap is real and it should not be dismissed. But we've seen some concessions and some very small victories that we must acknowledge. And I think that when it comes to the violence that we have now, even with the pandemic, it created a very unique opportunity. Lots of people got PPP money, they got EIDL money, and it seems like there's been a lot of miseducation on how to handle wealth and create intergenerational, long-standing wealth in our communities. I feel like we have to now talk about accountability from within. And just like we stood up against things like racism and we stood up against slavery, so that we wouldn't be known as the race of cowards, we now have to take that same courage and start recognizing that these are our children. A lot of these crimes that have been committed, carjackings, elderly people being hit, senseless gun violence, these are our kids killing our kids, our cousins, our family members. And we now need to start talking about our part and how we can actually take some accountability. Even though there is inequality, there is also a responsibility that I think has been neglected, making some excuses. And I'm not, and I know that this is not a popular conversation, but this isn't the time to point fingers. This is the time to own up to the fact that we all have a part to play, especially from within. And how can we do that? Go ahead. How can we do that? I think that it's time for us to start looking at the fact that the Black family, the Black and brown family, yes, there's been inequality, has been divided. There's a need for humility so that families can get back together again. And there's a need for people to actually move away from vanity and starting businesses. There are some people that have started businesses. Entrepreneurship is very important. And we need to put our resources together, stop shopping so much. We could put the Birkin bag down. We don't need as much Burberry. We don't need our hair done and our nails done as much as we need to actually create entrepreneurial activity opportunities. And we need to start loving each other again, creating activities so that we can actually spend our time more wisely with our children, our young people and our family members that's out there prone to boredom and malice in their heart and anger and violence, things of that nature. So that's the conversation we're going to have.
So you're talking about community activities and getting the community involved and giving them better things to do. And maybe supporting the small shops, but not the big shops.
Not supporting, creating, not just supporting. We have to create. Mm-hmm. It's time for us to create, I'm trying to figure out how to frame this, but there is no more palatable way than to tell the truth. If we we've acknowledged and we see that there is inequality, but there's also a great level of irresponsibility within the village that has to be addressed. And that is going to be the central theme of this walk. It's time for us to pick up our bootstrap, stop making excuses, and go get our kids.
So like as for creating businesses, you're talking about the food desert. No fresh groceries in the communities and different things like that.
And that is a legitimate inequality inequality in our community, right? Food desert. However, there's ingenuity. People have learned how to garden right in their front yard. There's a gentleman in Chicago named Matthew Ross created a whole garden that he feeds his family from in front of his yard. Is the most amazing thing to see. We can do it. Where there are food deserts, where there is blight, we actually can become the creative architect of our communities. Just like during the times of slavery, when we were given scraps, we made soul food. That's the kind of energy I'm trying to tap into. We do need government and we need community organizations to organize around those inequalities. But we also need people to walk and bring awareness to the fact that we now need to actually take responsibility and do our part.
So as a community activist, in 2018, a police officer struck you in the face. Can you tell us about that? How did that occur? What's going on with that? Are you still in court for that?
I am still, to this day, fighting that years later. Mm-hmm. But long story short, there was a barber in the South Shore community named Haritha Gustis who was shot. And if you look at the footage where the police actually said that they lost the audio too, you see the police kind of go after the waistband of this young man. He kind of rejects them, resists them. And next thing you know, he's shot several times fatally. And so I went out to protest and march peacefully in the community that I live in. And while walking in a square, a police officer arrested one of the individuals who was out there supportive, and I was filming it. And then I had a Chicago police officer grab me, and I did not really understand what was going on because I didn't break any laws. I had been marching and protesting for years. This was real strange. And I kind of turned around to see what was going on. And next thing I know, I was being punched in the face. And I was swarmed by a number of officers and taken into custody. And I've been fighting those charges for a while now. And it is the same case by which I was accused, as well as State's Attorney Kim Foxx was accused of having a possible inappropriate connection during this trial. So she recused herself from it and turned it over to the Attorney General's office. And that's who I'm dealing with this case with now.
So how did this experience contribute to your activism?
Well, it's always been a part of my advocacy as a young Black man trying to raise awareness to issues, especially in Chicago. I've also was one of the frontliners doing the little Palm McDonald days. So many police-involved shootings have happened in our community, just as community-involved shootings, and we've tried as activists to be there. I've given my entire young adult life to try to bring awareness to these issues and trying to solve them. And oftentimes it goes hand in hand where you're trying to bring awareness, and unfortunately the lines between the community and the police are blurred, and you go to jail. You have to have confrontations with the police. They're the front lines. And so it goes hand in hand. I'm used to it. You expect it. I know it's going to happen. I know walking, I'm going to encounter a whole lot of law enforcement. You just know it's there. Used to it.
Is it the same in Chicago as it is in Atlanta?
No, because Atlanta police kind of mind their business, and they kind of seem like, they feel a little. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I love Chicago, but Chicago has a lot of healing to do. Down in the South, or here in Atlanta, where I'm at, the police kind of they're not as aggressive, and they're more laid back, and you often find them integrating with the community and its activity. And it is not in a sense that they're trying to repair their wrongs. It's literally, you could tell the makeup of the department. In Chicago, it was always aggressive, always like Tom and Jerry, cat and the mouse. Of course, me being the Black man, I felt like Jerry. and it just felt more like that we were target. Here, it feels more like community at times. And I want to see some of those things happen in Chicago.
Has the change that you seek in about change, how has this helped some individuals already?
And the change that I seek in about change, or the change that we fought for over these years?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of success stories, and you don't often find the media wanting to highlight those. So first of all, thank you for that. But what we have been successful in doing, because before I was known as an activist, I was known as a gang and violence interrupter. And throughout the years, we've been able to build coalitions and relationships that have led to people going to get construction licensing through Project Hood, that led them to jobs, or that contributed to their families. Community centers community centers have gone up. I have literally created in so many different factions of Chicago, including on the southeast side, like Sircon, Paxtown, relationships where it's kind of like brothers and sisters, where we've seen people change their lives and literally leave street life and it never get talked about. We've had days and weekends, just like recently, Christian Nail, William Calloway's organization, did Peace Over East. And I wasn't a part of that, but him and My Block, My Hood, My City, which also I've had coalition activities with, we've done things that have led to safe weekends in neighborhoods that have typically been violent. I have individuals who talk to me to this day. If there is a shooting that happens in Chicago, one of the reasons why I have always had strong connections with the community and with the police is because it's always been clear. There's not an allegiance to criminals. We want a safe community. And we've gotten information from people in the street that have helped us identify shooters that need to be arrested. And we've had conversations with the police and vice versa. Problems with cops have been dealt with in community meetings and things like that. So successes, I think, over the amount of years that I've done it, there are tons of them. And I would say that they reveal themselves in lasting relationships where if I call certain places in certain areas at certain times, I'll probably get information faster than officials will.
Mm-hmm. So Jedidiah, with these successes, what kind of challenges did you face? What kind of hardships did you have trying to achieve your successes?
The challenge is the challenges are monumental because just like I would say that we've developed a lot of relationships in the community. Whenever there's a shooting, my heart skips a beat because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to know who someone is that's dead or know a family member connected to it in some shape, form, or fashion.